We use the word church in two different ways. In the last video, I talked about the door of the church and how churches are built in many different styles. But later, I used the word church for the people who go to churches and use them. The last chapter was mostly about going into the church building. This chapter is about becoming one of those people who go to churches. It's about becoming a member of the church community. When you enter an old church building, one of the first things you may see is a large stone bowl on a stand about 1 meter high. It may be a bit higher with steps around it. You may not notice that it is a bowl because there is a lid covering it. The cover might be very elaborate. It might be so tall and heavy that it's attached to a rope and pulley system to make it easier to lift. If you don't see the font at the back of the church, you may find it at the front. Not all fonts are made of stone. Some modern fonts are made of glass with a wooden stand. Your church may have a portable font, which is only brought out when it's going to be used. Originally, however, the church font was near the door. It was there for a reason. If you want to go into the church building, you go through the door. If you want to belong to the church, if you want to be a member of the church community, then you go through the ceremony that takes place at the font. That ceremony is called a christening or a baptism. People call it a christening because the ceremony is about people becoming Christians. Other people call it a baptism because baptism is an older word and one that is in the Bible. The word baptism comes from a Greek word meaning to dip, and that's one of the things that happens in the ceremony. The font is filled with water, and during the christening or baptism, water from the font is poured over the head of the person being baptized. If a baby is being baptized and the font is big enough, the baby's head might really be dipped into the water. In biblical times, people were baptized in rivers, and they'd be plunged right into the water so that for a moment they were completely covered. In some places today, people are christened in a river, and some churches have a large pool instead of a font so that they can be fully immersed in the water. Now, you perhaps know all this, but imagine you are learning this for the first time. To join that community of people known as the church, you have to be covered in water or plunged into a river. How weird is that? If you want to join a local club, you usually have to sign your name and pay some money. The church doesn't even charge for baptizing people. It's free. So why are people baptized? The first reason is that in the Bible, Jesus asks his friends to baptize people. Actually, in the Bible, Jesus doesn't ask his friends, he orders them to baptize people. It's one of the two ceremonies that Jesus commands his friends to do for him. The second ceremony we'll discuss in the chapter, the altar. These two ceremonies are called sacraments. In the last chapter, I said there were some jargon words that we use in the church, and sacrament is one of them. We use it because we feel that these ceremonies are more than ceremonies, and it's difficult to find another word. The word sacrament has connections with the word sacred. Sacred isn't quite a jargon word. It's used occasionally day to day. I've heard football fans talking about the sacred turf, meaning their football club's ground. Sacred means special or set apart for a special purpose. That soccer pitch is special to the fans because it's where the drama of the club's fortune is played out. On that ground, their team has won and lost. It's so special that people need special permission to walk on it. It's so special that sometimes people ask their relatives to scatter their ashes on the sacred turf when they die. Sometimes people have a special possession which they describe as sacred. They ask us to be careful with it. They might not even allow us to touch it. It may not be a very valuable object, but it's special because it reminds them of people they know and love. It brings back sacred memories. Indeed, holding the object or talking about it may stir up emotions. It may bring them and us to tears. Our church sacraments are special. Through them we hope to express some of our deepest thoughts and feelings about life and ourselves, about how to live and how to love, and about Jesus. There is a lot that has been said and written about baptism and why it's special. I'm going to mention just one part of the ceremony, the water. Water is essential to life. We're largely made up of water. We need water to live, to keep ourselves clean, to grow food and cook it, to manufacture our cars and computers and create energy. Water is not only essential to life, it makes us feel alive, plunged into the river like those people baptized by being totally immersed under the water. We spring up, gasping for air, exhilarated and alive. It's almost like coming to life. Water also reminds us of our birth. When we were born, we emerged from the waters of our mother's womb. You may hear church people talking about being born again. They have experienced something which has made them feel alive in a new way. It's a sort of experience many people hope for, to feel really alive, full of life, glad to be alive. Some people spend their whole life studying life in all its different forms. David Attenborough has been all over the planet and seen every form of life on earth. His films enable us to enjoy and marvel at the wonderful variety of life. But we aren't just spectators of life on earth. We too are part of life. Whatever the mysterious thing is that makes life and sustains life and gives energy to life, makes us live too. Like a fountain within us, life not only makes us alive, but makes us one with everything that lives. Font comes from a word meaning fountain. Those who join the church community through baptism at the font want to feel really alive. They hope to find inspiration for life and courage to live their often very difficult lives from the fountain of all life. Here, for now, is one little clue as to how members of the church use the ultimate jargon word of the church, the word I haven't used so far, the word God. Members of the church will talk about God as life, and the source of life, and what sustains life, and the life they feel welling up within them like a fountain, giving them energy and a thirst for life. It's almost as if God is like the water of baptism. As they have been immersed into the water of baptism at their christening, so they speak as if they are now immersed in God, the God of life.